There aren't a ton of DASA guns with dots, but there's about to be one more in the Lionheart Industries Vulcan, which is a new premium double-action, single-action gun that comes milled from the factory for dots. The price point is SIG 226 Legion territory, but how does it stand up in that segment? Welcome back to the Humble Marksman channel. I'm David, and I don't trust trees. I just find them kind of shady. Before we get going on the Vulcan, I do need to shout out my channel sponsors. First and foremost are my Patreon supporters who can successfully pat their heads and rub their tummies at the same time. Thank you guys so much for the continued support. And Optics Planet, where code HUMM does absolutely nothing and you shouldn't try it. Now at TriggerCon 2023, the Lionheart Industries guys were there with their new Vulcan series of pistols. They were hailing all the way from Winder, Georgia, which is dangerously close to the area that I grew up in. Now what's really cool about the Lionheart Industries is it has an action unlike any other double action gun that I've encountered, and I'm going to use this AREX 01 Tactical. So with the Lionheart, you pull the hammer back like that and then you just push it forward and the hammer will reset the trigger to its full travel length, but the characteristics of the trigger change pretty significantly. Whereas the pull length is the same, it becomes like a two-stage trigger where there is a very long, light slack that takes you back to the single action wall, and then you have a single action shot at the end. Now this was really messing me up because I've never encountered an action like that before, but messing with it and, you know, drawing on presentations and stuff like that, it provides excellent trigger feedback to the point where it could very likely be a thing, and I was very intrigued by it. The way that they accomplish that is through this weird like two-piece hammer. There's this little tab at the bottom of the hammer, and when it's true double action, the tab area is solid, and when it's double action plus, the little middle of that bit drops out. So they explained to me how it worked. I didn't record it, so I forget it. So basically elves are inside the gun and magic happens, and now you have a double action plus gun. I was so intrigued by this gun that I will do a longer term review on this. I think it is a cool gun. I think it is significant, and it's something that I know that the LH9 has done this before, but those LH9s are pretty tough to get a hold of, and with the new Vulcans, these are basically fit for a 2023 double action, single action sort of duty carry gun. Now that I have your attention, it is an alloy gun that weighs about 28 ounces, and it has huge G10 grips with a area on the right side of the frame for a memory pad, but on the left side of the frame, they have a G10 sort of thumb rest built into the grips. And lefties, don't you despair, they actually sell left-handed versions of the grips to put that on your side of the pistol. So I can imagine where that's going with you guys about, well, holster support is going to be a challenge, and every new gun has that same challenge, but Black Arch Holsters is already making holsters for the Lionheart Vulcan. I know that because they had two of the holsters there, and I picked it up with the Vulcan in it, and I stuck it in my pants without even asking permission, because that's just the classy kind of guy that I am. Now the pistol itself is very reminiscent of a Glock 19 in size, but it is a little bit thinner up top, so the bit that goes in your pants is a bit trimmer, but with the grips and everything, it kind of flares out to be about the same size as all the other guns. The fact that it does have G10 removable grips means that there may be aftermarket options into the future where things like palm swell grips might become a thing. The current grip profile on the grips is kind of flat-ish. They don't really put a lot of swell at the back of the grip. Talked to the guys about it. They understood why I liked that. Maybe something will happen, maybe lock grips will pick up the torch. Now, as I mentioned in the beginning, these slides do come direct milled for an RMSC footprint optic, which is good because there's some really great options in that footprint. Now, there are a few different models. There is the Anode, which actually has a hooked trigger, which is probably the model of the gun that I would prefer because I like hooked triggers, especially on double action guns. The premium models that are all the pretty colors of the gun come with sort of a straight trigger with the kind of like a hook at the bottom, sort of like the SIG P320 sort of trigger shape on their flat triggers. In single action, that trigger performs really, really well, and the fact that this is a double action plus trigger might be the trigger move on it. It's just I'm a weirdo and I like hooked triggers. I even shoot 2011s with a curved medium trigger profile. I just prefer curved triggers. The price is, the Anode is also the cheapest. It's a hard anodized frame, and it's going to start at about $12.99. And then the premium models with the pretty colors, the burnt bronze on the Ember or the kind of like shadow gray on the Shadow, those are all Cerakote, and those are all going to be like $1,550 to $1,600 bucks, and the combat model is the top end of the range at $16.99. So these are all coming in November of 2023. I think it's a really cool concept for a pistol, and I can't wait to get my hands on one for a longer term review. As always, appreciate you guys, and I'll catch you on the next one.